Okay. Let's move around here. Rightio, well, you're very lucky that you're going to see this video. And there may be a little bit of swearing involved, that I'm going to name one person. But I'm going to tell you why I'm single and basically explain some of the gnarlier dates and stuff that I have had and some of the ridiculous crap that's gone on. I've told this to some female workmates and female friends and that, and some of them have, just started laughing, or they said, "What, you joking? Are you for real? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it," and things like that. That's the usual sort of response I get when I explain some of the crap that has gone on. Now, basically, I had a couple of overgrown friendships when I was 12 years old, but shortly after that, they were nice girls. And shortly after that, I got interested in computers and started to basically hang around with computer geeks and become a computer geek. And with all that, you get very socially isolated and things like that. Now, in all that social isolation, I wasn't always very good with people either. I lost touch with, dealing with people. And were very clingy and things at times with people, and very possessive and stuff like that, and it was bullshit. And I had an epiphany in 2005 and thought, there's no way in hell that life can be this hard, that it can be this hard with people interacting with each other. There's no way it can be that hard. And I know it's cliche, but I read a book and it changed my life. I realised that I was useless socially, absolutely hopeless socially. But I sort of have been a different person since 2005. But I had a nice old mess with trying to get girls when I was in my teenage years as a result. Two of them reckon they had boyfriends. One I knew for a fact she just grabbed him just to keep me away. Another one I never heard in all the time I talked to this girl on the phone and that she had one. I'm certain I never heard it. And she did have a boyfriend, and he was actually quite an alright bloke, and I liked him, to be honest. He was good. Anyways, I've had some other, relationships, and they're not relationships, they've just been things that have turned into disasters. So we'll go through a couple of them. Now, this one, everybody will remain nameless, but I will name one of them in another one. There was a girl who I thought was quite alright, and judging by pride genetics, I assumed that she was going to turn out very good. So I realised she was really too young for me at the time, but if I remained good friends with her, or remain close with her, close friends and that, I had a good shot. And, she did look very cute. There's no doubt about it. There was another person involved in this who, was telling me that she was still cute and all this sort of stuff. Couldn't produce a photo, but stayed on that line for 3 years. And when I finally saw her, I knew I'd been dramatically lied to. My gosh. I, really sort of wondered why the hell I couldn't get a photo, and I found out, that I'd wasted 3 years chasing a girl just because somebody else said she was all right looking, and, I wasted 3 years. But when I started to realise she's cute and started to fall for her and all that, her father who I knew very well, he picked up on it. And I sort of went from good friend to complete fucking enemy, basically. And he threatened to kill me in front of 8 of my workmates. I'm not joking. Isn't that lovely? In front of 8 different people who were all there when it happened, he threatened to kill me. And later on, he laughed it off like it was a joke. But you don't threaten to kill me and then just laugh it off like it was a joke. That was fucking unbelievable that day, actually. And the pure fact that he thought he could just sort of, not apologise, but just pretend it didn't happen. And the fact of the matter is, he was right. I had fallen for his daughter. But I realised there was a bit of a bloody stretch on the age. So I was going to wait till she's older. And now she's, well, in her early 20s. But, yeah, she still doesn't look good. Anyway, we no longer talk with those people. Although the one person who was lying me, I still am in contact with and talk to, but just don't bring this subject up. Now, the next one, we're going to name the next one. Her name was Courtney. What a smug little bitch she was. What basically happened there was I met her, one of her friends thought I was hot, and she called me over and said, "Oh, don't worry about my friend, and she, sort of said, my friend's nuts, but, I'm sort of, I think you're pretty alright, and I said, I think you're alright too. And the conversation sort of, went on for a while, and we both thought each other looked pretty good, so we exchanged numbers and that. She said, I just want to take it slowly, I don't want to be sort of all over me like a rash, I don't want to do anything which I later regret or anything like that. And I said, I understand that, and I don't really go for girls who, well, I didn't say that, but I'll tell you now, I don't go for girls who spread themselves all over the place like blooming, butter. But anyway, I was sort of, we left on a good note, and we saw each other a few times after that, but often she'd, be late for dates or want to change the time, and they weren't really dates, we'd meet up somewhere and we'd, talk and that, but there was always one of the friends there and all this, and I couldn't just sort of talk to her alone, but I realised that, maybe she just didn't feel comfortable being alone with me, because there's, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years difference there, and she, maybe, no, I don't think it was that much. I think it was about 6 years difference, but anyway, she, just wanted one of her friends there, so I thought, oh well. Anyway, I went on holidays for a while, and I come back, and then, I sort of realised we hadn't seen each other for a month. And so I sort of said, to her, well, do you want to, can we meet up? And I said, I've got something I've got to tell you. And I don't know if she thought I'd been cheating on her or I'd broken it off, but I mean, we were barely even together anyway, because we barely even saw each other. Simple as that. But anyway, she said, okay, I'll meet up with you. And then proceeded to give me the address of this girl who she'd been enemies with for the last 4 or 5 years, ever since they were in high school, who she would harass every fortnight by throwing stuff at the front of their house as she drove by, and all things like, nice things like that. Anyway, she told me that she'd be at this house in the backyard having a barbecue, and just to come in the front door and go to the backyard, and she'd be there. And I thought it was one of her friends, and she said, well, her parents sort of don't like me, so don't really, say that you're coming to see me. Just say you're coming to see another person. And this other person she named was her enemy, who shall remain anonymous. Anyway, I went in there, realised that, walked in the front door, realised that there was nothing going on in the backyard and that, so I went to go back out again. And, basically the owner of the house and his daughter's boyfriend decided to chase me up the road with a car and got out and said, and quite rightly so, what the hell were you doing in my house? Who the hell are you? And he had a rather gnarly looking piece of metal pipe in his hand, and I was literally about 15 seconds off getting smashed in the side of the head with this piece of metal pipe, possibly making me cross-eyed for life. Thank you very much, Courtney, you little bitch. Anyway, I explained who it was, and fortunately I had a photo of this girl on my phone, and I showed them, and oh yes, we know exactly who that is. Yeah. Anyway, we ended up doing a little drive around looking for her, and they were basically intending to beat her to within an inch of her life, beat her to unconsciousness if they found her. And, to be quite honest, at that point, I was just, I didn't know if I should try and reel her in for them, to be quite honest. But I thought, no, if that happens, you'll end up in court, and they'll say that you exacerbated the situation and you'll be charged. And I thought, well, things are just about completely out of hand because they basically wanted blood. I mean, they were ready to crack her bones. That was basically it. And so I just thought, no, we've got to wind the situation down here because this is getting out of hand. Then after that, they decided that we should go to the police station. So they went to the police station and they were there with me and that. And they were quite reasonable to me, to be honest. They really were, given the circumstances, and they were welfare types, but, in listening to their conversation, yes, the father did work, but they were sort of rough types, and I was very lucky that, they sort of actually, were willing to consider my situation before cracking me over the head with a piece of metal pipe. Anyway, they went to the cop station and talked to the cops about getting an AVO, which is Apprehended Violence Order, which is basically a restraining order against this girl, and then dropped me off in my car and the night was over. What a hell of a night that was. But this smart little Courtney, and I forget her last name and I probably shouldn't say it even if I did remember it, but she thought that she'd gotten away with it completely because all I had was a phone number. Ha ha ha! Very bloody stupid. Doesn't know who they're dealing with. My uncle was exceedingly good at information gathering. He had a car that he bought that the arsehole then sold before he had a chance to pick it up. It went through 5 different people, got on-sold in the space of a few weeks because everybody was they were trying to part it out. And he found all the parts of that car and that car without a problem in the world, even though it passed through 5 different hands. Now, there's a method he uses that uses no computers and no government databases to find almost anything and everyone, and he's very good with that. I have also learnt those skills. I'm not quite as good as the skills as he was, but I also have electronic equipment that helps me along a little bit too. But I'm not talking about computers here or government databases either. Now, this bitch was so stupid that I had her first and last name and her suburb, and that is basically enough that I need to track almost anybody anywhere. And within under 2 minutes I found out the exact house she lived in, and I also had a good idea that that house was a double-storey house, and I could also tell you something about one of her siblings. Now, isn't that funny? So her parents got a registered letter to tell them about the little night we had. And she really loved that. I got some real hateful SMSs back after that. So, yeah. Now, I'll just check how long I've gone, and then I may do a second video or tell you the next one. I'm going to have to leave it and do a second video.